And hello, everyone. Welcome to Lunch for the Soul, my favorite day of the week to be with you. Happy Wednesday to you, and thanks for joining me for Lunch for the Soul. Why do I have an incredible guest and actually a multitude of guests to introduce you to today? Because this is going to be a special conversation about how life can throw you a hardball, and no matter what, a lot of times when you put your faith out there and you rely on that faith, it can really get you through the hard times. And I just have the most amazing young lady to introduce you to. So let's get right to her. Please welcome Jaclyn and her very loving and supportive mom, Sheri. Hello to you both. Welcome to Lunch for the Soul.
Hi.
Oh, it's so good to see you and to know that you're doing incredibly well. I'm going to start this with some photos that you all sent me, and then I'm going to also bring in a doctor from TIRR Memorial Hermann who has and runs a powerhouse of an organization, of a facility that really literally got you back on your feet. So hold for that, everybody. She's here and we'll introduce her in just a moment. But first, let's start back. When you were here, you are how old? Early 20s, I guess.
20.
Yeah, you beautiful thing. You, my goodness, you rock star. And we see you here. I love mom. How sweet is that? I know mom, you got to love that, right? So you're in your 20s. Let's talk about what was happening at that time. You were in college in El Paso, is that right?
Yes, and I was modeling at the time.
At UTEP. She was actually a junior. She was just starting her junior year at UTEP, taking classes, just living life as a 20-year-old does, and always on the phone, right, Jack?
Yes.
All right, now let's talk about what happened, because something drastic happened in your life that is no laughing matter. And this is what your mom walks into a hospital room day in, day out for months. Let's talk about, Jaclyn, what happened, a very dramatic thing in your life.
It was on Daddy's birthday. We were all going to lunch. We're all in a group text, and I stopped texting. And I always text on my phone in a group text. So then you were wondering why I wasn't texting back. And then she got a call from UMC and said, you know, a man named David Almaguer. And she said, yes, was a blonde girl with her. And she said, I can't tell you, but you might want to get here as fast as you can.
Yes, and so I rushed to the hospital, and when I got there, they said that they were working on Jaclyn. They weren't actually sure that she would survive the evening. We didn't know what was going on, but they did say she had severe swelling in the brain. So we kind of had an idea. I don't think we knew how bad it was. And then they came and said, we have to take her into surgery and take out one side of her skull. And then about 7 days later, they ended up having to take out the other side of her skull due to the swelling. And so she was in ICU and a coma for 2 months here in El Paso. And then we asked about, we put it out there on social media and said, does anyone know of a traumatic brain injury place that we could go to? And sure enough, TIRR popped up. And so we heard about Disorders of Consciousness program at TIRR. And so we got into TIRR, and we were there for about 4 months at TIRR.
Now let's go back just a little bit for people who haven't heard your story before. So, Jaclyn, you were the passenger in a car, right? So you're just sitting there innocently when another car ran into the vehicle you were in?
Yes, I was a passenger and an F-150 hit me, and they did not know I was in the car.
My goodness, it's a lot to go through. Okay, so then let's talk about what happens. This is a good time to bring in Dr. Catherine O'Brien. Hello there, from TIRR Memorial Hermann and the director of the program that you just mentioned. Now, let's talk about, they were told in El Paso that there was a good chance that she might not make it. And if she did, that she might not ever walk again, talk again, eat by herself again. But they had hope when they found out about your program. Can you tell us about this? Because I think a lot of people may not have heard of this particular program that you run.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and so great seeing everyone. I met the Pellicotte family when they admitted to our program, and our program is here at the Texas Medical Center, where we have one of the best rehab facilities in the country, but we also have this program for disorders of consciousness. So many patients who come in like Jaclyn did, and as Sheri described, in comatose or potentially vegetative state, are frequently told that they won't get any better, but in fact we know they can. And these are the patients we specialize in and like to provide rehabilitation and education and care for both the patient and their family here at TIRR.
Oh, what a blessing for them. And when you see a family like this, you see them all the time, don't you? Of families who have come in with very little hope, a wing and a prayer, and then you all do the magic. But it takes a lot of work to make it happen, doesn't it? It doesn't just happen overnight either.
Right. And I mean, I attribute Jaclyn's success to her family and their faith and their commitment and dedication to her recovery. So it didn't matter what anyone told them in their journey, they believed she would get better. And that is what carried them, across the state of Texas to Houston and through our program and to where Jaclyn can walk today.
Let's talk about this renowned Disorders of Consciousness program. Tell us a little bit more about when I picture that, and I picture someone who comes in and really can't communicate, and then all of a sudden, I believe one day she said, "I love you" back, right, Sheri? And you couldn't believe your ears. Tell me about that moment.
That was actually, we had left here. When we left here, Jaclyn was not really moving any part of her body, her thumb a little bit and her left arm. But when we got home, she wasn't talking. And so it was 10 months after the accident. I had a monitor in her room so that I could just, check on her throughout the night. And I heard her kind of in her room. And so I got up, it's like 2 a.m, and I go in there and I said, "Are you okay?" Because she could do hand signals. So she gave me a thumbs up and she said, "I'm, good." And I said, "Do you need anything?" And she put her thumbs down, like, "No." And I covered her up and I said, "Well, I love you." And she whispered. It was a very low whisper, but she said, "I love you too." I started screaming and my husband comes running in because he's like, "Is everything okay?" I said, "She's talking." So we woke the whole house up and we're celebrating that she was getting her voice back.
Oh, that had to be a moment. Jaclyn, do you remember that?
No.
No, your body was still in a state of shock. Dr. O'Brien, you probably see moments like that all the time, or at least hear about them, right? It's got to be so rewarding to know that this program is working.
Absolutely. To be able to tell a family that has been told that there's no hope for recovery, that their loved one is in there and they understand. And, when Jaclyn first started communicating, it was non-verbally, and getting to watch the joy on, Sheri and Dennis's face when she picked the right card. She pointed to the correct card, and that's our daughter. She knows how to do that. And it's those small steps that lead to these big mountains that Jaclyn's climbed, and getting to be a part of it. Our whole team, we love being there for these families and getting to participate in the journey.
Sheri, let's talk more about that faith. How did you keep that up on these hard days? Here is your precious, beautiful daughter struggling for her life, trying to relearn things that you taught her when she was a little girl. What was that like for you as the mom, and how did you keep that faith strong?
That's a really great question. At the very beginning, I was a wreck, like any mom would be. I remember weak in the knees. I never knew I knew what it meant, but I really didn't ever experience it till that day she was in the hospital. After about a week and they had taken out her skull pieces, I was praying and I was in prayer, and I was saying, "God, I know you love Jaclyn more than I do. And at this point, I am giving her to you because I know that you're going to do with her what you need to." And from that moment on, I really did have a huge sense of peace. We knew that Jaclyn was going to be healed. We just didn't know when. Dennis and I, in all the pictures, we're smiling, and she's like, "How could you be smiling? I'm crying in every picture." And we said, "Well, we knew that you were healed." I mean, and that doesn't mean there aren't tough moments, because there were. I mean, even Dr. O'Brien, I never cried by Jaclyn's bedside. I always, encouraged her and said, "We're here, and God has you, and you're going to be okay, and you've got this. Just fight hard to get back." But Dr. O'Brien, I mean, several times was in the hallway when I broke down. And I would have to wipe my shoulders off and get back up again, but it was people like her and the whole TIRR family that really got us through such a difficult time, because we were in Houston. So we're in a city where we don't really know anyone. We're away from our family. We're away from our son, Jaclyn's older brother. So it was rough, but God just took great care of us. And we knew that Jaclyn was going to be healed. I mean, we talk about where her picture is hanging, and we always would claim that wall, this is where your picture is going to go. And I would grab Jaclyn's hand, and she couldn't move it, but I'd take it out of the wheelchair and I'd stick it on that wall. And I'm like, your picture's going to go right here. So,
and that's where it went.
That's where it went. So, it was not easy by any means, but we did have a lot of faith, and we relied on God, and we relied on our faith, and we knew it was coming. Like I said, we just didn't know the timing.
It's so beautiful to hear you share that testimony. I just got goosebumps. Dr. O'Brien, you said that you saw that faith in Jaclyn's parents, and you felt like that was also a big part of it. So you feel like you're doing these powerhouse things in this facility, that people come from all over the world to get your help, but you do see faith make a difference in these families?
All the time. All the time. Everyone who walks through our door comes in, with that faith that they're doing the right thing. And we're here to support that and build them up and help them maintain that faith throughout the recovery, because it's not always easy. It's not always a straight line in the same direction, as Sheri will share with you. A lot of those breakdowns occurred when it felt like Jaclyn was taking steps in the wrong direction. And so with that wavering course, you have to stay strong in that faith.
Let's talk about that road to recovery. So how long were you all in Houston at TIRR Memorial Hermann?
We were there from January until May. And we had several surgeries. We had her bone flaps put back in while we were in Houston. So she was with surgery. And then we would go back to TIRR. So, but we were there from January in 2019 until May.
And then let's talk about what it's like to be home now.
Oh, it's great. It's really amazing. I mean, TIRR will always be a part of our family. And
Yes.
We are just, so grateful for everyone there, and Dr. O'Brien and all the nurses and Dr. Guattari. Just, they're, I don't know. I can't even explain them, because they're really amazing healthcare workers. And they're not only that, but now they're part of our family. And so we're just, so grateful to them.
Beyond blessed.
Yes.
Let's talk about what happened recently, because you go home, you heal, things are getting better, and then you go back to this facility that helped you so much to be a blessing to others. And also, you thought it was really important to put your picture on the wall. Tell us about that.
Well, my picture is where she'd always put my hand, and I got to talk to so many other TBI patients, traumatic brain injury patients, and I told them, I would show them a picture and they would cry, and I said, that's me, and you're going to be just like me in no time.
So you gave them hope, huh?
Yes.
And it's very important. We always say that her picture's not up there for us, but it's for other families going through such a traumatic time in their lives that you can't even imagine it, but you're in it. And so it's so nice to actually have that picture up there, and you can read and see, okay, you know what? She's kind of in the same predicament we're in. And that wall of hope is just amazing, because it gives families that hope and that faith that, you know, to their child may recover. You know, it's not always a promise, but you know, at least when you're at TIRR, that made us feel really good, because we read practically every story up there, so that, you know, we related to several of them, and we're like, okay, Jaclyn's got this. But I think that's the main reason we want to help other patients and other families. It's not so much recognition for us, but we want to give them that support and that hope. And you know, we want to always let them know that we're there. And we tell Dr. O'Brien all the time, you know, have them call us. We'd be more than happy to speak to them. And so that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you see that really making a big difference too, Dr. O'Brien, for families to come in like that. And then let's talk about that wall of hope. It makes such a big difference for them, doesn't it, to say, hey, we may be right here right now, but one day we are going to be like those families.
Absolutely. We, you know, the wall of hope is so important to us here at TIRR, because when you feel like you're in that really dark, deep place, you can see that others have climbed out of it. And we as providers, we can live there and be by your side, but we haven't been in that situation. So to have a family like the Pellicottes who will then share their experience and how they lived it, that's something we as providers can't share, but they can. So it's providing an invaluable resource for us here at TIRR to give to our current patients who are concerned about, you know, am I going to get better? Am I going to walk? Am I going to do any of these things? Can I still get better? And to have Jaclyn tell them you can and keep pushing is really meaningful.
And Jaclyn, you are so inspirational. Just to see your name here, Jaclyn Strong. Is that how people can find you on social media and help support you and love on you even more?
Yes, it's my Facebook page.
Tell them about your Instagram.
Oh, and my Instagram name is Call Me Blondie.
I love it. Oh, that's good stuff. So what is happening now, Jaclyn? What do you do now? What is your favorite pastime, and what is life like?
I work out and I love to paint. And it's funny because before my accident, I didn't paint. And we got home, I just started painting and building Legos.
Yeah.
And I keep buying Legos, and she tells me, we have nowhere to put them.
No, we don't. What about school? Tell them about school.
I'm taking 2 classes in the fall, and one of them is for communications, and I have to take it. And the title is public speaking.
Oh, good for you. And we see you. I go back and we take a look at this photo when doctors didn't know if you would ever speak again. And now you're professional. And you're really good at it. Let me tell you, someone who watches things like that very closely. Mom, you got to be so proud of how far your precious girl has come today.
She's my Wonder Woman, let me tell you, because I don't know I could do what she did. I mean, she went through a lot, and you know, when we got home and she wasn't talking, she would wake up with the biggest smile on her face, and it never goes away. It's just, she's always happy, and that's how she was before accident. So, you know, we have Jaclyn back, and so we're so blessed and grateful.
Can you show us your fur babies? Or is there 1 or 2?
There's 4.
Oh, there's 4. Oh, fun. I think my dog barked for a moment and stirred up yours, I think. So I'm probably to blame for that. But do pets make a big difference in your life and really help?
Yes, it's funny because before my accident, my dog was Chloe, but I got home and Cole took right to me and follows me everywhere, does not leave my side.
That's him.
Yeah. He's like,
we have you lots of love. Well, thank you for sharing your beautiful testimony, your beautiful thoughts of faith and how it's helped you. Dr. O'Brien, an honor to be able to talk to you. Thank you for doing so much for our community.
Thank you for having me.
And I only wish you absolutely nothing but really good health from now on, Jaclyn. You're just such a precious young lady. Thank you for sharing yourself with us.
Thank you for
having me. Stay in touch. And now I know how to find you on social media too.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for blessing us on Lunch for the Soul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to make sure you all know to join me next week, because we are going to take you back to Memorial Hermann. I'm telling you, that's where so much magic is happening in Houston these days. And I'm going to introduce you to two young men who have a second lease on life, because they both recently underwent heart transplants. And you can imagine, if you're a young man, of what that's like to try to figure out how to hang out with your buddies again. But because they both went through it, they have become best of friends. You are going to love them. Another super inspirational story that will help hopefully make your day. It's all about your heart and your soul during Lunch for the Soul. So thank you again for being here, everybody. I love you, and I'll see you again next Wednesday, 12:30, the place to be. Have a good one.